Hey everyone, how are you? I'm here. I'm Joe Russo. This is my brother Anthony.
Hello.
We just finished up the film literally 2 days ago, Monday morning at 6 a.m. So we thought it would be a good time to sit down and do a Q&A. So first of all, we want to thank everybody for sending in your questions. They were fantastic. Of course, we can't answer all of them or we'd be here all night. So we pulled a collection of the questions together, and hopefully these are representative of what a lot of you want to know. So we'll go with the first question here, which is how difficult or easy was it to choose who would be on whose team? And that's a question from Nikki Sinclair. How difficult or easy was it to choose who would be on whose team? You want to answer this one?
That's a great question, Nikki. Look, we spent months and months and months while we were developing the film in a room with Marcus and McFeely, the writers, and the producers at Marvel, and just talking over and over again what the various combinations could be, like who would go where, what our motivations were, what the most fun things to do is, how could we surprise ourselves, how could we surprise the audience by which side people would choose. It was a really involved process and a lot of fun because we got to explore the characters on a lot of levels. Who were they individually, and what would motivate them most? What were their relationships to everybody else like, and how would that influence them? It was a really fun, creative process of figuring out the characters in the film, and it was tough. It took a long time.
Our next question is from David Edwards, who asked, did you use any IMAX cameras on set? And yes, we did. We shot about 20 minutes of footage on the Area 65 in the IMAX format. These are the IMAX approved Area 65s. It's the same cameras that we're going to be using to shoot Infinity War. It's a different aspect ratio than the movie will. It's the IMAX aspect ratio. So if you go to see it in a regular theater, you're going to see it in the anamorphic. If you go to see it in an IMAX theater, you'll see it in the IMAX aspect ratio. We had a great experience with the cameras, which is why we committed to shooting both Infinity War films on the IMAX cameras.
All right.
Next question.
Next question. What is your schedule like on a normal day of production? John Cody. Interesting. So look, I'll describe a normal production day in the United States. It kind of varies depending on what country you're in, what regulations you're working under. But in the U.S., a shoot day is based upon a 12-hour work day that doesn't include about a 45-minute lunch in the middle of it. So you're typically on set working for about 12 hours and 45 minutes from when you start to when you finish. And on a typical day, like we'll get there, sometimes we get there a little before that time to just sort of go over a few things on set or talk to some actors or talk amongst ourselves. And then usually what we do is, if the scene is a dialogue scene especially, we'll roll into a rehearsal with the actors. And we'll bring all the actors on set, and we'll have a very quiet set, and we'll start working the scene with them on the set, just to get everybody up and running on a performance level. And we'll probably have had like previous conversations with our cinematographer, Trent, about how to shoot the scene, how to approach the scene. After the actors rehearse, we'll have more conversations about that, because new things may have come up in the rehearsal. And then we just start to chip apart the scene on a shot-by-shot basis, based upon what we're going for. And that's sort of a shoot day, more or less. I mean, it varies. Some days you're doing action, where it becomes less about performance and more about how do you stage very complicated physical stunts or explosions or whatever the case may be. But the shoot days are hard. They're long and hard, and there's a lot of pressure because you've got an enormous crew, you have enormous resources. Shoot days are very expensive, so you have to use your time very wisely and efficiently in order to get all the good stuff you want to get into the movie. So.
Great. Our next question is, what excites you and scares you the most before a movie of yours is released? That is from Andres Bornicelli. Hopefully I'm not butchering anybody's name. Obviously what excites us is, that the fans finally get to see the movie. We are fans ourselves. We grew up, obsessed with pop culture. I'm a guy who still goes to midnight screenings of films that I'm excited about. So for us, after working on a movie for 2 years, the whole point of making a film is so that you can share it with other people. It's a medium that is that is public. It's for public consumption. It's not a private medium, and so we put in all of that hard work because we want to get people as excited about the material as we are, and hopefully they respond to it. And my brother and I have always said that we use our own internal metric, or our gut as our guide through the material, because it's impossible to try and please every fan, because everybody has a different opinion about what they like, and that internal metric was forged over years of reading comics and fantasy books and movies, and we were voracious movie watchers when we were kids, and growing up, and we have a lot of influences and things that excite us that we try to pour into the films that, like I said, will hopefully excite the audience. Of course, what scares you the most is that people don't react to the film, and that the movie didn't turn out the way that you hoped it would. So, fingers crossed, and we'll see how everybody responds to the movie over the next month here.
All right.
Another question.
Okay, here's a complicated one. My husband is Team Iron Man, and I'm Team Cap. Do you offer any marriage counseling or therapy? Marjorie Faris Carvalho. Okay, Marjorie. Look, we don't offer any counseling, but I don't think you guys going to see the movie together is going to help the situation any. So you may want to find separate groups of friends to go to the movie with, spend a little time apart, after you see the movie, and then sort of figure out a way to start stepping back toward one another. That's the best advice I can give you, but good luck.
I'm going to take an easy one here because it's short. Can you describe in one word the ending of Captain America Civil War? That's from Minadon D'Amato. Can you describe in one word the ending of Captain America Civil War? Yes, the one word I would use for the ending is complicated. That's my answer. Yeah.
All right. Is the Bucky in this film going to resemble the Bucky from the first Avenger in any way, or is he a completely changed person? Tara Morden Paino. Yeah, look, this is another thing that we spent a long time thinking about and talking about with the writers who sort of have written all three Captain America movies, Marcus and McFeely, so they have a tremendous understanding of the character, the Winter Soldier, obviously. Yeah, he is not quite. Here's the fun thing about him in this movie to us is he isn't Bucky Barnes from the first movie. He isn't the Winter Soldier from the second movie. He's a completely different version of that character. Maybe perhaps it's a hybrid between the two in some way, because how do you go from being a normal person to being a mind-controlled assassin to sort of some life beyond that? So that's what we're exploring in this film, is where is this character left on a psychological level, and how can Cap reconnect with that person in any way after he's had this experience as the Winter Soldier. That's the sort of at the heart of the film, I would say, is who is Bucky in this movie, and how can Cap ever have a relationship with him again? So,
can you elaborate further on what you meant by Civil War being a psychological thriller? That's from Andrew Gahal. So yes, Winter Soldier is a political thriller. A political thriller usually has a complicated plot that traps the lead character, and the lead character is typically behind the plot, trying to catch up with it. And there's a revelation moment where they finally do catch up with the plot, and it's usually near the end of Act 2, and then they scramble to defeat the villain in the third act. But a political thriller like Winter Soldier turns on plot. There are very specific plot twists in the film that push the characters forward. A psychological thriller turns on the characters and the choices that they make. So this movie is more of a character film, and the key moments in this movie turn on key choices that the characters are forced to make in the film. That ultimately, as the title suggests, puts them in conflict with people that are very close to them, and that can be severe conflict. So that's the difference. Just for us, between what we did with Winter Soldier as a political thriller and what we're doing with Civil War as a psychological thriller.
All right. And we'll take a couple more. What do you look forward to most when you release a finished film? What are you hoping for from the audience? Really, what I'm asking is, if you enjoy destroying us, is being destroyed what we should reasonably expect from Civil War? Aaron Macaulay. All right, Aaron. Look, I will tell you this. Joe and I have never intended to literally destroy an audience, but maybe in a figurative sense. I'll say this. I went to see the musical Hamilton last night. I was very lucky to go see it, and I felt at the end of that play, I felt pretty emotionally destroyed, and I liked it. It's kind of like eating very hot food, you know. It kind of gets to you, but you have to just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Anyway, the movie is complicated and it's intense, and I think that's part of the pleasure of the film. It's part of we derive pleasure from it as storytellers and as fans, going to places that are hard and difficult and complicated and sort of leave you struggling with the characters themselves. So that's the experience we're trying to create for the audience in this movie. And hope to hear from you after you see it and see what you think.
I'm going to combine two questions here. First one was, what was the movie that made you say, I want to be a director? That's from Nicholas Begin. And who are some of your favorite directors? That's from Thad Pittman. So the movie that made me want to be a director, it's a little bit of a tie between Truffaut's Shoot the Piano Player and Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. Once Upon a Time in the West is the only film that actually brings me to tears in the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's so beautifully rendered. Favorite directors would have to be Truffaut, Leone, Coppola. He's one of the great storytellers of all time. Scorsese. People ask us about film school. I often say, you know what, you can skip film school and just watch Goodfellas for 2 months straight, and everything that you need to know about making movies is in Goodfellas somewhere. Transitions, incredible sound work, use of Steadicam, handheld, dolly, movement, dynamic framing, incredible performances, wrought storytelling, humor. Anything that you need is in that movie. And a modern director that I really love and that I think everybody should check out her work is Michelle MacLaren, who I think did an amazing work on Breaking Bad. And I think that's my list.
All right, boy. We could either end. Maybe this is a good question to end on, perhaps. Yeah. Unless there's one more. Will there be a kiss in Civil War? Candy Kusich. Well, it's a tough question to answer.
No, I say we plead the fifth on that one.
There may be a kiss in Civil War.
There might not be.
But I bet you can't guess which characters it's between.
Okay, I think that probably is a good question to end on. We want to thank everybody again for sending in your questions. They were very thoughtful. And again, I wish we had time to get to all of them because there were some really great questions in there. But we will be doing this again. Look for a few more live videos from us over the next few weeks as we start premiering the film around the world. We'll be going live from some of the red carpets and talking with the cast and just trying to keep you generally informed about the progress of the film and our journey as we move towards premiering it in the U.S. So thanks everyone, appreciate it.